Travis Wayne Goodsell. Mormons apparently graduate from high school, and I guess it's like 14 years of age, and then they go off to BYU. I don't get it. I don't understand, but whatever. And at BYU, they take what appears to be a scientific career field with the courses for that particular career field in science. And all they do is just sit in class and ignore the teacher and watch TikTok videos. They don't do any homework. They don't study the course material. They don't learn the field that they chose to be their career. And apparently, you either get a pass or a fail grade, and you pass simply by showing up for class and participating. And so you graduate with high honors, having passed all your classes, sometimes getting valedictorian, and the female version, or are they the same, that they can pick and choose? I don't know. I don't care. I didn't bother. And then you go out and you become a social media influencer, continuing to stay in your parents' home in Utah County, cyber terrorizing Travis Wayne Goodsell for having been faithful and learning Mormonism. I mean, seriously? This is what you do with Mormonism. You're a casual Mormon. You go to church once a week on Sunday, and thanks to Nelson doing away with home teaching, guys don't do home teaching anymore. They're free. So now they don't have to be guilt-tripped to do home teaching anymore. It's all done away with. And you don't bother to study your scriptures. You know, you went to church. Nelson took away the third hour, so it's every other week for Sunday school, every other week for priesthood and Relief Society. You just sit, stare at your phone, watching TikTok videos of people twerking or doing the latest kill yourself challenge. And you're thinking, I could do that. I'll be so popular doing what everybody else is doing. I could do that. You don't learn the scriptures. You don't learn Mormonism. You don't care. And so with me, you pull the religion card. You can't judge us. Because if you actually studied your scriptures, you'd know there's more verses to that chapter in both the Bible and the Book of Mormon that plagiarized it. You seriously don't understand why you're the butt of jokes all around the world. Why person after person keeps slamming the door in your face on your mission. You don't understand why people call you of the devil. You don't understand why people stay away as if you're a murderer too. You don't understand why people know that you are lying to them, trying to deceive them and con them out of their money. because you are a casual Mormon. You refuse to learn Mormonism as a Mormon. It's about as stupid as going into a college and into a career field and doing nothing to learn the career field, and then expecting to get into a top position in the job when you graduate, to be paid lots of money with your support animal at your side. And so yeah, I saw Bill Maher's new rules last night. Finally, somebody understands me because he lives in Southern California. But Desiree dying yesterday broke me. I'd already been telling you that day in one of the longer videos, I'm at the verge of quitting. Not wanting to wait until the end of the month when the actual deadline would be of failure. You know, it's one thing for Mormons to not believe. It's another thing for Mormons to be evil and attack me and try to destroy me simply because I studied Mormonism. I listened to the prophets. I studied the Book of Mormon. I studied Joseph Smith. I studied the Bible. I learned Greek. I learned Biblical Hebrew, and thus had to decipher Paleo-Hebrew and the learning of the Egyptians and the language of the Egyptians, because Egyptologists only know the learning of the Greeks' language of the Egyptians from the Rosetta Stone. And that's why nobody believes Joseph Smith. I don't need people's affirmation. Oh yeah, that sounds true. I believe you. I don't care. I don't care. I ran the scientific test. I know. I don't need you to tell me that you feel good about me. Knowledge and truth are not based upon popular opinion. And it is so frustrating to have Mormons tell me that they need to get other people's opinion who support them to prove I'm wrong. People just don't get it. I don't need validation. I already know the truth. Desiree's death was 8 years in coming. She was assassinated 8 years ago, and the effects finally took over her yesterday. 8 years to die from the assassination. If the prosecutor of Utah does not on Monday file murder charges for the death penalty for those kids. Because even though they've been charged and sentenced and have gone to juvie, maybe, I'm not sure what happened to them in the case. Maybe they didn't know how to do their job, so those kids got away with it and have gone on missions and are now general authorities. But they were only charged for the attempted murder. Now with her death yesterday, there's more charges to add. And they can be charged as an adult, regardless of whether they went to juvie or whether they were charged as adults back then. Because it was maliciously planned, and they've already been found guilty. And so now, it's murder, having been found guilty already of plotting and maliciously intending to do it. Death penalty for those kids for what they did to a daughter of Zion. And it broke me. That is the symbolism that broke me. That Mormons, through their evil, are murdering their own church. Desiree was just a symbolic representation of that. The type and shadow. As she was assassinated at the beginning of the latter days and died at the end. But you don't study, so you have no idea what that means. And so it didn't help that prior to learning of that, Shelby came out with his expected ruling on Thursday as Judas Edward Johnson failed to what he had promised. That Shelby betrayed Utahns. Betrayed not just those prosecutors. But that it was also during Passover. That it's during Passion Week for Christians. Even though he didn't do it on the Monday or Tuesday when Jesus whipped it good at the money changers of the temple. He still did it during the week. Mormons refuse to study their scriptures to learn Mormonism, to understand the significance of the evil of Shelby, to allow the church to continue their priestcraft and their prostituting and their abuses upon Mormons and their deceptions of the government and Trump's administration, using Trump, who when confronted about it yesterday said, "I'm nobody's puppet. I'm the decider, Dad." Whatever. Because the news made it very clear Trump is not touching the church And then to have this final conference where both Oakes and Nelson reveal how evil they are, and for Mormons to just be so stupid by choice to not catch it, because they don't study their words. They're not listening to them. They're doing the token sitting down as a casual Mormon. Maybe even went to the conference to be a part of the group. Yeah, I'm here with others. Look at me. I'm an influencer. Although I think they confiscate your phones, don't they? No recording. Oakes doesn't like it when you record him. All these years, I have altered my life to serve this mission to you, to warn you, as I am commanded in the Doctrine and Covenants. And with Desiree's death, yeah, that just reinforced what I already knew. It's not just the Mormon YouTube employee's fault who lives in southern Utah, who prevents people from finding my videos, from finding my channel. Because there have been, over the latter days, upwards of 500,000 who have at least come to one video, and they have rejected my message, using their spiritual witness feelings, being offended, rather than seeking to understand what I'm talking about. Because it's too complicated, they have to study. And then 40,000 on my July 2017 video, which are the fruit by which to judge me with if you kept reading that passage, whether in the New Testament or in the Book of Mormon, plagiarized. Mormons will not judge righteously, because they'd find out, like 15 million Mormons already have, and left. But even those 15 million who have left, they too do not study. They too are casual. They were casual Mormons, but when they finally watched a TikTok video exposing the church, they left. And so, I am stopping. This is why. Scriptures. Everything is all based on scriptures, because I studied. I don't memorize and regurgitate on tests. I studied and use associative memory. And so with my prophetic associative memory version, I become the Word of God. And this is it. And in whatsoever house ye enter, and they receive you not, ye shall depart speedily from that house, and shake off the dust of your feet as a testimony against them. And you shall be filled with joy and gladness, and know this, that in the day of judgment you shall be judges of that house, and condemn them. and it shall be more tolerable for the heathen in the day of judgment than for that house. Do you not understand what that means? Heathen is separated from the people you enter into the house of. This comes from Matthew chapter 10, verse 14. This is Joseph Smith's version of it. If you'd actually studied, regardless of whether you knew that it was a Jewish author who wrote it, and you got conned by Christianity believing it was literal history, you should still be able to understand that Jesus was sent to only the Jews, not to those who didn't believe the Jewish religion. But since the creation of Christianity, the heathen are now Christians. And thus Joseph is talking about warning fellow Mormons. And if a Mormon rejects you, it will be worse for them in the day of judgment than for the rest of the world. Real simple if you simply but study. I gave up my life to serve this mission to Mormons, knowing that I was the only one who studied, and therefore it was required of me to warn you, to teach you, to try to save you from utter destruction in the day of judgment. It didn't have to happen today, being the last day of Passover. It doesn't have to happen tomorrow, being the Christian Easter that Oaks had sent you death threats for 5 times. I've been going over with you all these latter days that not everything gets fulfilled on the day of the sign in the heavens or the scriptural prophecy. There are exceptions called anomalies, and I've explained to you the results of those anomalies and why. The curse of Joseph Smith, for example. Every single president of Brigham Young's criminal organization didn't die on the very day of a solar or lunar eclipse. None of them did. And yet, they all fit the pattern of being within a specific time frame from a solar and lunar eclipse. That's why we have until the end of the month. But the scriptures don't say that Nelson is going to die. It actually says that he's going to be locked up for 1,000 years. Because he's been resurrected by Jesus. He's immortal. But nobody's listening anymore. They were already offended with the first part of my video. But this is what happened. I've learned how to use the apps and the Movie Maker by dedicating my life to warning you. I knew nothing of this new technology. I had to learn it all from scratch, all by myself, without an instruction manual. Take that, women. Yeah, I saw the Bones episode yesterday of Brennan Temperance being told, "Let Booth teach you something." So she bought him a plumbing book for dummies, and he's still, you forgot to glue the other end of the connector. Dear God. So, this is it. I literally am wiping my feet of you Mormons because you chose to reject my message. And you're too stupid, not knowing Mormonism, to understand this significant event that I am doing right now. Because you're going to be stupid enough to think that it's a victory for Jesus, that you have conquered me, that you won, you showed me. You don't get it. I wasn't doing this for me. I was doing this for you, and you still rejected it. You refused to be saved. You are Desiree. You have murdered yourself. Brethren and sistren, adieu.